have a rancher. Guys, pay attention. We have a rancher. No, you can leave your. No, that's.
Don't. I'm up for that.
A rancher has 100 meters of fencing. Now, I know you learn about perimeter in like grade 4 and 3 because my daughter's doing it in grade 5 and she's learned it for like a couple of years. So I believe in you. So, perimeter and area is what we're going to be looking at, and it's going to be of rectangular shapes for the most part. So I believe in you even more. Okay, but we're going to be missing. No, never. We're going to be missing X values. So. Okay, so if I give you fencing, are you A, going around the field, or B, fencing the entire field and you have cows just stuck in barbed wire? Which are you doing? You're going around, thank you. We are not like fencing people in a fence. Okay, my brother's girlfriend back in the day's mom was barbed wire.
What?
That was her name. She wasn't like barbed wire. Her name was barbed wire. Okay, so anyways, it is the perimeter for those of you who give me an area formula. You're nasty to the cows because you're just like stuff. Okay? Not nice. So, we have a rancher, and they have 100 meters of fencing. So they're giving you perimeter. Okay? Now we have to decide if the perimeter is 2 lengths and 2 widths, or if they don't need to do the entire field. For example, if the field is against like a river, something for them to drink out of, you're not going to knock the cows out of that. Something like that, okay? Or if, you know, the fence is against a barn, you don't ever see a barn with barbed wire running against the edge of it. That's a waste of barbed wire. The cow can't get through the barn. It's, you still wouldn't, you'd look dumb. Okay, so 100 meters of fencing available to build a rectangular corral against the side of a barn. Okay? So we're not going to fence in the barn side. So let's, here, we're going to have a barn.
Not using that stove.
Build a cube.
It's like the fence was around the barn.
There's my barn. Anyways, there's, no. Oh boy. Ooh, it's going badly. We have to go like this. There. It's my 3-dimensional barn fence. Yes.
Oh,
so it's like a handle to the tool
and it's a barn. That's cute. Okay. You know what? It is how you go.
It's a 3D fence. That's pretty darn good, except it's connected to the top of the barn, but that's fine.
The side part on the barn.
A fence isn't just one line. Have you never seen barn?
No, like on the
Girl, please.
We're not country folks.
This is how barbed wire runs.
Yeah, I know.
So it's my 3D barbed wire.
Yeah, but on the other side of the, like, no line.
Oh, I was drawing something totally different before. Ignore that. That's not there. Check that.
Other side.
This here, that's gone. Okay. So if you don't want a 3D version, because you're just too cool for it, this is the side of the barn, and then this is the fence you need. Barn. Is that better for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, bird's eye view. Barn is also very narrow. It's just a line. Okay. So whenever we set these up for perimeter, we're always going to want to make the maximum area at which we can put the maximum number of cows in. So what we always want to do is we want to be able to make the largest area using that barn. Correct? So would the barn side be the length or the barn side be the width if we're trying to use the most of it? And not fence it. Like, are we going to make this be the length or the width if we want to get to use the most of it? You want it to be the length, because the length should be your longest side, correct? And you want the longest side to not have to be fenced, correct? Because if you don't have to use fencing on there, then you have more fencing to go this way, out. So you always make your barn or the side that doesn't exist a length. We agree? Now we are not fencing in the barn. Stop it. So that length's gone. What do we have over here? A width and a width. So if I made the perimeter formula for this question, it would be width plus length, which we can write nicer as 2W plus L. Equals 100, exactly, because I gave you the perimeter. I gave you the fencing. So 100 equals 2 widths plus a length. Now what it's going to ask us for here is to write a quadratic in standard form to represent the area. And people are like, yeah, but you just gave me perimeter. So in the end, I'm going to need the area. They'll ask for the max area or the width that gets you max area or the length that gets you max area is what they'll do. It'll happen in B. But what we're going to do here is we want to get max area. We want to form an area formula. Area formula is always the same for rectangles. It doesn't matter if a side's missing or not, because area is if you've covered it up, right? If you just covered that whole land. So what's the area formula for a rectangle? You know this. Yeah, length times width. Okay, but we have a perimeter formula sitting over here. Why? Our first step always is to get the perimeter formula. That's going to be our first step. I'll write it in blue. Your second step actually is not to write out the max area formula. I just wanted to prove it there. Our second step is to isolate W or L. Because what I want to do is I want to take this formula, which is the only formula I have, and I want to input it into here for L or W. Okay? Because the only thing they gave me was perimeter. They didn't give me area. Correct? Which one's easier to isolate in this equation? L. Because if I isolate W, I'm going to get fractions. So I'm going to choose L. You could choose W and make your life harder. Up to you. So I'm going to go L equals negative 2W, because I'm going to have to subtract that over, plus 100. So I just subtracted 2W from both sides. So that's step 2. Step 3 is max area. Step 4 is input L, or whatever variable you isolated, correct? So we're going to go max area equals, what does L equal? It equals negative 2W plus 100, and then I still have a W. Do you see that? I just put it in for L. I took L, I tossed it behind my head, and I replaced it with negative 2W plus 100. So I took, because L equals negative 2W plus 100, I took the L, I tossed it away, I replaced it with negative 2W plus 100, and I still have a W here. Step 5 is distribute. So I have max area equals negative 2W squared plus 100W. And then 6, you're going to complete the square. Which is just vertex form. And if it helps you, you can put a plus 0 at the back if that's helpful, because this one just doesn't have a c. There's no like ax squared plus bx plus c. The c is just a 0. So what are the rules for completing the square? You take a GCF out of the first how many? First two, we did this yesterday, right? You completed the square, we did this day before. You have to get it into vertex form. How do you get it into vertex form? You need an A. How do you get an A? You take that -2, that leading coefficient, out of the first two. So I'm going to get equals -2, square bracket, round bracket, W squared. What's 100 divided by -2? -50W. Then I add a blank. We agree? How do I get the blank? You go 50, -50, -50 divided by 2, squared, and we don't skip steps. -25 squared, which equals, what's 25 squared? 25? Because I always use this b value. So I'm going to get plus 625, round bracket, minus 625, square bracket. And then if I want, I can put a plus 0 at the back. But do I really need to write that? No. Now I need to get that perfect trinomial square factor. We agree? So I'm going to go -2. And then what multiplies to me 625 and adds to me -50? If I don't skip a step, it's this number here. What is this number? -25, right? So I'm going to go W minus 25, W minus 25. And then what do I have to remember to do to get square brackets to go away? Distribute. So I'm going to get -2 times -625, which is positive 1,200 and 50. Oh, I'm not done. What do I still have to do? Put the W minus 25 together, right? -2 W minus 25 squared plus 1250. So what's the coordinates of the vertex in this case? What do we get for the coordinates of the vertex? 25 and 1250. Now, I'm going to tell you what they it wants us to know what they represent. What letter was with 25? W. So this is W. Had it been an L, what would this actually be? L, right? So you have to look at what's beside the 25. This is my width, is it not? We agree? This is going to be my max area. How am I going to get my length if they ask for it? Divide one by the other. Yeah. You take the area and you divide it by 25, you'll get the length, right? Because the length is just the area divided by the width. So what's your length? 50. Now we have to give these actual things. So we're going to go width is 25 what? Meters? What was the unit? 100 meters of fencing? Yeah. Width is equals 25 meters. Length equals 50 meters. And the area equals our max area. 1,250 what? Meters squared. Because it's meters times meters. So the first thing is to set up your perimeter formula. Second thing is to isolate for a variable. Third thing is to do max area, input, length, or width, right? Then you're going to have to complete the square. So, here's another one. It says here, at a children's festival, the organizers are roping off a rectangular area for stroller parking along the side of a building. So it's the same diff, right? It's just now rope. There's 160 meters of rope available to create the three sides of the perimeter. If you see this, you will always do the exact same steps no matter if it asks for max area, width, length, anything like that, you're going to have to do the same steps. So here it says, write a quadratic in general form to represent the area for stroller parking. General form is vertex form. So you guys set up the perimeter equation and solve for L or W. Try that out first. So our perimeter equation is going to be 2 widths plus a length again, right? We always make the side that they give us be a length. So we have 160 equals 2 widths plus a length. Then what am I going to do? Get one of them by itself. Which one am I going to get by itself? Man, this is like, I swear to goodness, if anyone's listening to this podcast, I would only think that there was 2 people in the room. There's 20-some. They're just not helping me. Sorry? There's that? Yeah, L equals negative 2W plus 160. You forced me to pick on people. Max area equals what, Hannah? Length times width. And we're going to input for length. What are we going to put in for length, Hannah? Now we have a W. Nikki, what are we going to do next? Starts with a, yes, I'm going to give you a hint. Starts with a D. Distribute. So we're going to distribute in, and we're going to get negative 2W squared plus 160W. And now what are we going to have to do? Rhymes with C, or starts with C, rhymes with complete the square. Complete the square. Yes, yes, you are the winner. Okay, so take your negative 2 out, get a blank, complete the square. So we're going to take a negative 2 out, and we're left with W squared minus 80W plus blank. Now remember, this is the key thing. You have to take the sign with it, correct? So if it's negative 80, you need to take negative 80. So it's going to be negative 80 divided by 2 squared, which is negative 40 squared, which is, Tegan?
1600.
Yes. So we're going to get positive 1600. I don't know why I didn't have a square bracket. And then minus square bracket 1600, not square open line. And then there's nothing at the back. So you could put plus 0. Now, we're going to get negative 2. What multiplies can be 1600, adds can be negative 80, or you can look back. And it's W minus 40, W minus 40. Now, why does it have to be W minus 40? It's always going to be minus for these ones. Why? When you take the number out, it becomes what? Positive, right? So if we have W minus 40, we're going to get the width is 40. If you have W plus 40, you're going to say the width is negative 40, which makes absolutely no sense. That would be totally wrong. So this is always going to be minus. It's not, you made a mistake. This is also going to have to turn to positive. Why? Because it's your max area. And can your max area be negative? No. So negative 2 times negative 1600, people will forget and just tell me it's negative 1600 meters squared, or they're like, it can't be negative, so I'm just going to write 1600. Still not correct. Okay? Negative 2 times negative 1600 is positive 3200. So when we rewrite it, we get negative 2 W minus 40 squared plus 3200. So we did it in general form, which is vertex form. Now what's the coordinates of the vertex? 40 and 3200. What is the 40? What variable's with it? W. So we have a width of 40, what? Meters. And what's this 3200? Max area, 3,200 meters squared. How do I get my length? It's just an aside, I didn't ask for this. You do the area, 3,200 meters squared, divided by the width, which is 40 meters, and how much do we get? Pardon? Should be AD. Yeah. Meters. Now they want the domain and range in this instance. We are talking about, in this case, width, because that's what we used for our x, right? And area. Can we have negative any of those? Also, could we have 0? Yes, but would it get me like a perimeter of any sort? No. So, if we're talking about width domain, what's the highest width I go to? 40. So I would just go, okay, x such that 0, and instead of x it would be a w. Why did I put an x? W such that 0 is less than w is less than, can it equal 40? Yeah. W-E-R. And then our range is going to be technically y such that, or area such that, whatever you want. Y such that 0 is less than y is less than or equal to 3,200. So we're going to go ahead for a second. We're not going to do the revenue ones right now. We're going to go ahead to 2 pages on the back side of the one I gave you. The front side, I don't remember. Whatever it is. It's this one here. So what if we give you ones that aren't just a generic 4-sided farmyard? Okay? It just changes only how we set up a perimeter. That's it. Still do all the same steps. All the same steps as before. So here it says, Maria lives on a farm. She's planning to build an enclosure for her animals that is divided into 3 equal sections as shown in the diagram. So she has 3 equal sections. So what we have to do and what we have to remember when we set these up is that these here are actually the widths. This is a width, this is a width, this is a width, this is a width, and then this whole side is a what? Is a length. So these are both long length sides, and then the pens are split up by widths. People want to try and do those as widths and then the pens being split up by lengths, but that's not the way it works. 2 full long side lengths. Right, because that would be the length, and this would be the width normally of the rectangle, right? This top and this bottom would normally be the length, and this side would normally be the width. We just happen to have 2 extra widths. That's it. Does that make sense? So we normally have our 2 lengths, 2 widths. We just have to have 2 extra widths. We agree? So the perimeter is actually 2 lengths plus what? 4W. And how much do they give us per perimeter? 280. And now you can either solve for L or W. I'm going to solve for L because if I solve for W, I'm going to get fractions. I'm going to get a half length, which I don't want. So in this case, I'm going to still solve for length. So I'm going to subtract my 4W over. So I have negative 4W plus 280 equals 2 lengths. And then I have to divide by 2. And when I divide by 2, I divide every term by 2. Bless you. So I'm going to get length equals negative 2W plus 140. And that's just my length, correct? Now I'm going to input that into my max area. It didn't change anything. So my max area is length times width, but instead of length, I'm going to put in negative 2w plus 140 times width. Then you guys are going to distribute, and then you're going to do what? Complete the square. Here. All right. So we have negative 2w squared plus 140w. We'll take the negative 2 out. Square bracket, round bracket. W squared minus 70w plus something minus something. How do I get that something? I go negative 70 divided by 2 squared, which is negative 35 squared, which is some number. What's negative 35 squared?
Oh, 1225.
Okay. So we add 1,225, we subtract 1,225, and we get negative 2, w minus 35 twice, and then negative 2 times negative, that is 2,450. So it's plus. We get negative 2, w minus 35 squared, plus 2,450. Now here's write a function that represents the area of the enclosed in terms of its width. And what are the coordinates of the vertex and what do they represent? So our vertex is at 35 and 2,450. What does the 35 represent? What letters with it? W. So the width is 35 meters. And the max area is 2,450 meters squared. On the sheet you're on, you're going to do numbers 3 and 4, and then I have a few other questions. So you're doing numbers 3 and 4. The answers are below. Yes. Yeah, just do those two. 2, 3, and 4. That'll make me happy. And then we're doing tomorrow, we're going to finish up revenue word problems, which is the second one. And then we're going to do revenue word problems and factoring, solving by factoring, which we already know how to factor. We did this at the beginning of the year, beginning of this school semester, not year. Yeah. February. Okay, so you guys have to do 3 and 4 for homework. And then we're going to do revenue tomorrow and start solving by factoring.